I could see the quicker, more immediate annihilation of human beings and make comparisons with what I had heard, and some of which I had read about the elimination of other human beings in multiple numbers, and emotionally there were similarities. And I asked the people in that village around the Buchenwald, who had been the people who had done the extermination of human beings systematically, not warlike, systematically. How could, I could speak a little German, how could you let that happen? And they said, it wasn't us, mister, it was the Fuhrer, transferring blame and responsibility, though they had done that work. I put that into my feelings as being doing the dirty work but not taking the blame. And then with other friends, particularly the Jewish, had seen Buchenwald Dachau. And what I learned in that period was some of the first people to be exterminated were minorities, Afro-Germans, homosexuals, gypsies, poor Jews. The wealthy Jews continued to support Adolf Hitler. That's a story. And then they become the victims when they no longer had a lower base of protection and support. That the class separation that I have in my mind among blacks in America. The middle class and the upper class of African Americans, educationally and economically, has been generally separated from the poor lower class through a process called gentrification. Not talk about color, can you pay the price? Which makes the lower class, most of black, eliminated. They can't pay the price. They don't have the jobs or the income. So they go to the streets. They still need, I feel, they have to have food. If they don't have shelter, they need to have shelter but food. They need to have clothing to cover their body. So they don't have the optimism that many of their peers who come from the more successful groups have. They don't have, they don't see a future. All they see is tomorrow or today. Many don't believe they're going to live because they've seen so many deaths past 19 or 20 years old. Many of them don't have examples of success in their communities. They almost all know someone who has been killed, who has died from gang warfare and others. So they don't see a future, and they're separated so that they don't think of people whose color is the same as being friendly or the same to them. And even though those more fortunate people may want to help, they're rejected. In fact, many times, Asian or Caucasians have to bridge the gap between these more fortunate because there's a deep hatred and resentment that the poor class have for the middle and upper class people. When I came back home, I felt a deeper obligation. See, I had learned organizing earlier, organizing politically, organizing in terms of community organizing, in terms of unionizing the community. Even though we were segregated from white unions, we organized our own union. So I'd learned. When I came back home after seeing Buchenwald and hearing about Nagasaki and Hiroshima, my dedication from that time to the present was to work to bring peace and justice for all people across race, gender, all those. And Dr. King not only stimulated, but sort of made people like me obligated to use a new formula, technique for bringing about change. And that is peaceful resistance, which was difficult even in the South, but in the North, even more. In Chicago, in Marquette Park, after Dr. King was knocked down, I kind of lost my feeling for passive resistance against violence. But I brought with me from Europe and those experiences of watching a division between classes as well as race and ethnicity that were brought up into feeling, particularly in a poverty era. You see, the Depression started in Europe. The Great Depression started in Europe. And those people were poverty-stricken, so they could be more easily separated by the divisions of race and class and ethnicity, all of those. Get rid of them, I'll have more. And even in that period, because hunger was they ate human beings under the idea that they were not eating one of their relatives, but they were starving. And so other human beings could be roasted and then given to them as food. So the experience of World War II, I'm not the only one, with people like Milton Cohen and others that had previously been members of the Abraham Lincoln Brigade that went to Portugal and they went to France, went to that part of Europe where anti-Semitism was very great. So Spain and Portugal. So people like that and Studs Terkel, who was a very definite universalist, we banded together even before Dr. King came on the scene. So when Dr. King articulated what we already felt, he became our spiritual and activist leader in the local communities. And we walked together, singing together, "We shall overcome. We do believe." The Freedom Train in Chicago?
Yeah.
I organized it.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the Brotherhood of sleeping hard porters, and Mr. A. Philip Randolph. Mr. Randolph and Dr. King sent, I forget his name now, who sent him here to ask me, would me and a couple of other guys, would we organize in Chicago, because Dr. King had become so popular suddenly that there were elements of the black leadership who resented him and didn't believe that the march would be successful. And they didn't want to be affiliated if it was going to be a failure. But the younger people, who were affected or feeling their responsibility, we brought them together very easily with people like Studs Terkel and others like that. We brought them together. They did the work, for Chicago at least. We got the credit, but they did the work. And on the train, Studs Terkel interviewed a lot of people for his oral history projects. Then when we arrived in Washington, he went back on the streets to talk with Washingtonians about how they felt the March on Washington, about the Washington. And they told him there would be a riot against that kind of thing, but there was no riot. There was resistance, but there was no riot. But the famous people on the train included Mahalia Jackson and others, well-known supporters of Dr. King. President Johnson asked Senator Kerner to do the work that eventually wound up important. I think that it succeeded with a more aggressive and also previously organizing of the black middle class or the black aspirants to the middle class. But it was resisted. And now what we see is what we call the separation along class lines more than race lines, which is causing a division. And now that separation is affecting people on the move across ethnic and race lines, and younger people are demonstrating in the streets, dramatized by what happened in other places, but dramatized by what happened in Florida, where younger people are learning that this can happen to them as well as others. They're uniting to try and eliminate divisions of various kinds. And historically, that has been going on since before the Civil War. But now, with the new educational as well as informational technology, it is much more easy to bring people together than it was in that earlier period.
Do you have hope?
Absolutely. That's what keeps me coming to be interviewed by people like you. I have hope, and what I want to do, and I think is successful, is when I have the opportunity to be invited to be interviewed by the media or in groups, that I have a responsibility to transfer that history that I lived and that older people live to younger people, so they will realize that hopes and dreams prepare this world for the future. Positive hopes and dreams. Then plans prepare. What I also realize that unless we pass that on and help all people, young, old, and beyond race lines, to realize that each of us are our brothers and sisters keepers, then the competition to survive will be much more drastic and devastating than it was a generation ago, or certainly 2 generations ago. The bomb that destroyed Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the bombs that destroyed 2,000 with Hiroshima and 1,000 with Nagasaki. Today, those weapons are obsolete. Today, with the same attitude, hundreds of thousands can be killed by a single weapon. That weapon, however, the energy of that weapon can be transferred in a positive way so that it will make life more enjoyable for more people. My mission is to stimulate the information that I share to younger people so they will use this new information of using it for construction, jobs, and all the other, rather than destruction.